So in the previous tutorial I showed you how to select data from a layer, but there is an easier way, and it is part of the representation of a layer. The second way is to simply represent only the bus stops from this layer using the Style tab. This tab is similar to symbology in ArcGIS. Select Categorized, column equal F class, click Classify, and then remove every other feature type except for bus stops. Now your map will only show the bus stops, however the other features still remain in the layers attributes table. And in the future you can choose to represent more or less of the classes. To remove these types, simply click Delete in the Style tab after you have selected them. We can also show their labels. Go to Labels tab and click Show Labels for this layer. Label with Select Name from the drop-down. I will show you later more details about the labeling. Let's see how it appears in the Map Composer. If we remove one of the layers, for example the background, we need to simply move to the left or right of the map with Move Item Content for the view to be updated. To select a background color for the map, go to Project Properties, General, Background Color. After you change the background color, you need to remove the current map and add the map again in the Composer. As an intermediate step, you can choose to export your map just to make sure it would look like you want it to look. In the Map Composer, click Composer, Export as PDF or JPG. If you want to use it later in Inkscape, you can choose to export it to SVG. We will export it to PDF first. We might want the label of the bus stops to be smaller. Double-click on Bus Stop, Labels, Text. You can change the size, the type of the text. Some labels are on top of the actual bus stop symbol, so we can change their placement by Placement Offset from Point and introduce a value in millimeters. Before you save again, make sure you close the current map view in the PDF viewer, otherwise it will not save. We can also choose a symbology for the roads. Right-click Properties, Style. Since we are dealing with free and crowdsourced data, we cannot know for sure that the roads have been correctly categorized, so we need to check. I think it is easier to visually check. So first let's categorize the data. You can read in the wiki OSM what each category signifies. Please go to the link wiki.openstreetmap.org/wiki/map_features. Since we want to show the roads, we will need primary link, secondary link, residential, tertiary link, trunk link, and motorway for main representational purposes. This means that these are the primary roads which are very important for a map. For secondary representation purposes, we will need also footways, unclassifieds, service, track, path, living street. Basically, since volunteers with various degree of knowledge and satellite image reading abilities have digitized this data, it will have errors in categories for sure. What I do is simply show all the roads for main representational purposes with one size and color, and the secondary representational purposes objects with a different color or size. It's a big generalization, and these roads are purely for orientation purposes. The main layer in our map will be the bike or the bus routes. My recommendation is to check visually each road if it has the correct type. Hopefully you know a thing or two about the street network in that city. You will need to label the streets as well, the lakes and the rivers. You will have many labels, so if your map is filled with labels, you might want to reduce the area of representation. Simply have a map of the city center only, or reduce the number of layers labeled, but the user of the map will need points of interest, so he can orientate himself. Alternatively, you can also place labels manually, which gives you more freedom to choose which labels you will place. This way you have the freedom where to put them and make sure they don't overlap. I will teach you how to put manual labels in Inkscape in the next tutorial. As you can see, the railway does not look very nice, since different tracks merge and diverge from one. We will need to do a trick to make the change more smooth. Double-click on the railway layer, Style, Advanced, Symbol Levels, Enable Symbol Levels, click OK. So now there's one thick continuous line for the track. Much better! You can label and style the lakes and rivers also, with a nice bluish color. Since the name for the rivers does not get displayed, we will get more names from the line shapefile. To make sure the line and polygon type layers have the same color, copy the color from one of the layer and paste it to the other layer like this. Click Properties, Style, Color, click the drop-down arrow, copy color. Then in the other layer, follow the same steps, but click on Paste Color. If you find the Lakes Rivers polygon type layer has rivers that are too wide, you can choose the river line type layer and represent that as wide as you want by styling it. But make sure you select the lakes from the Lakes Rivers polygon type layer as a separate layer. As you can see, making a beautiful looking map in GIS is hard. Labels are overlapping, sometimes there are more symbols than we actually need, and we have not even drawn the bus routes layer yet. So my solution for the bus map was to do it in a different way. Similar to a metro underground map, for those who are familiar, where we only care about the bus routes and the bus stops, and less about the roads. You could continue with this map and simply not show labels for streets, or you can redo it in my way in the next tutorial. The current map, we will still use it for the bike routes map, where the street network is important but the bus stops are not. So we will continue the project for the moment with the bike routes. To label only the important layers, go to Properties for the roads layer, Labels, Rule-based labeling, click the plus sign, description equals important roads. Click on the three dots button to the right of the filter row. In expression field type F-class equals, click all unique values to see which values to choose. To have more values labeled the same, type F-class equals, for example, residential, or F-class equals primary, or F-class equals primary link, and so on, until you have written all the classes that you want to represent with the same style. Since more segments are from the same street, there could be duplicate labels, so please go to Rendering, Feature Options, and tick Merge Connected Lines to avoid duplicates. So you will need the bike routes layer you created earlier. Hopefully you have found a good up-to-date source for the bike tracks. I will simply use the data from OpenStreetMap. If you want to do this as I do, you have two options. You can select the cycling routes from the roads layer, or you can duplicate the roads layer by right-click on the layer and select Duplicate, and only represent from the duplicated layer the cycling tracks. Since I have already showed you how to select in the previous lesson, I will take the duplicate layer option now. The duplicate function creates a new layer that has the same data as the original one. It is not stored on the drive, but only in QGIS as a temporary file. If you modify anything in the duplicate, it will have an effect in the original and vice versa, so they are still linked. There is no documentation I know of for this function, so it is more of a personal experience. We will not modify any of the features, we only want to represent the cycling tracks. You have to make the duplicate file visible, so tick the square to the left of it and drag and drop it above the roads layer. You can rename the duplicate by right-click and rename. To only show the cycle path, click Delete All from the Style tab, click Classify while having the F class in the Categorized column, and remove all the other features except for the cycle way. To modify a color of a feature, right-click, Properties, Style, left-click the arrow on the right of the color, choose Color. You can put here HTML notation or input the RGB, SHV values, or simply pick a color to the left, either by option of color wheel, recent color, pick a color. If I want a map that has all the bike routes in it, I could zoom to the extent of the bike layer. This works best if you selected the bike tracks and created a new layer for the bike routes. If you made the bike layer by creating a duplicate, you will get to the extent of the whole area of interest as the first polygon created in lesson 4, unless you select only the bike routes and click on the button for zoom to selected features. You can also decide which area is more suited for your purpose. Maybe you only want to show the bike routes in the city center if the city is really big. Maybe you want to show all the bike routes. In the future you might learn web GIS or making an app for mobile users. Obviously you will need all the data there, because users can easily pan around. However, on a printed map there is the map boundary limit. In the map composer you will need to put the map scale, legend, a title and a north arrow. Please join me in the next tutorial to show you how to do this. Thank you for watching this tutorial. All the best. Goodbye.